Hey there riders, Chris from bikereview.com.au here today, and I'm here with Yamaha's Tracer 900 GT. So this is the up-spec premium model for those who want kind of the best of the sports touring world. And there's a whole heap of extra inclusions to justify that GT tag, but the premium this year is $2,700. So it's even more expensive than the previous year model, which sold out basically instantly because it was so popular and the inclusions were so good. This model, it's got the TFT display, which is a really nice display. It's got cruise control as standard. It's got heated grips as standard as well, which is really good. It's got these panniers, which are ideal if you're thinking of doing a fair bit of touring and you want the luggage. And obviously you can add a top box onto that for even more luggage options. It retains the old Tracer 900s, you know, nice, kind of tall, very comfortable, great seats, great ergonomics. Very nice machine to ride for longer periods of time, and like I said, really, really comfortable. However, this one is aimed with the fully adjustable suspension at someone who probably is going to take a little bit more advantage of the sporty side of things. Now, when this bike arrived to us from Yamaha, the suspension was super, super soft. It was like a lounge chair. I took my wife on the back and we went for a ride, had a bit of fun on it. However, the thing was there was just no front end feel and it was really hard to push, which with someone on the back, you know, with double demerits wasn't such a drama. However, naturally, you want to be able to set this up to have heaps of fun through the twisties, as well as be, you know, a good kind of touring bike as well. So we've adjusted the suspension since then. I found it a lot better for general riding. I did some smooth twisties and I did some around towning, some of just the nice roads through Sydney, through the suburbs. It was much, much better. I was getting some front end feel. Then today when we did the photo shoot, I have to say over the really rough roads, it was pretty mediocre again. And then after that, doing another section of roads for photos, with that setup, it was actually quite good. So I think the thing is it really needs a good suspension setup, because in some conditions I was really happy with it and in others I was pretty unhappy. And we would assume that the standard suspension setup that this comes from out of the shop would be a little bit better than how we got it, because obviously most customers and most riders who would jump on one of these and kind of have it the way we've tested it would be pretty disappointed until they put quite a bit of time into getting that suspension sorted, which, you know, there's a lot of adjustability within the system, so it's just a matter of whether or not you can get that set up to the way you like it. Because if you're paying extra for fully adjustable suspension, that's a huge aspect of it. You really want to be able to get it right within that stock suspension. Otherwise, you may as well have just bought the Tracer 900 and got a suspension specialist to do the job for you properly. There are, of course, all the other inclusions that I mentioned. It's not just about that adjustable suspension, but I think for a lot of people that's going to be a big aspect of it. It does have an external preload adjuster on the rear, so if you're putting someone on the back of the bike, that's great for being able to wind that up and down really easily. The ergonomics for someone on the back are quite generous as well. As you can see here, you've got like a nice bit of room between the pillion peg and their seat. There's grab rails on the back, which make it very easy for them to hold on, which means that it's a more pleasant ride for you as the rider, as well as for the pillion with something to hold on to. Obviously, they're going to be sitting with their hands behind them. There's great vision through the mirrors. There's a nice adjustable screen, which means that you can move that up and down depending on how much air you're looking for. Obviously, it's got a bit of a cutout, so you still get a bit of wind behind the screen for breathing, which is good. I find the really big screens can sometimes just cut off the air completely, which is not ideal on the hot days here in Australia. Cool throw of light from those headlights. It's got those cool futuristic looking headlights. The overall styling to me is really cool. I much prefer it in the GT version over the standard Tracer 900. I think it stands out a lot more. Obviously in the black, in the right light it looks good. Taking photos though, it's a bit of a challenge, particularly when kind of the camera catches those front panels, which really do stand out and look great in the silver. Obviously, the MT-09 engine is found in this bike. It's a beautiful engine. It's been kind of detuned a little bit for this particular bike. I could use all three of the modes on this, and there's, you know, varying levels of performance and throttle connection, which is really good. On the MT-09 SP that we tested the prior week, there was only one mode that was really usable for general riding, just because the engine was so aggressive. On this, I think for a sports tourer, they've done a pretty good job. With the suspension being really soft though, what you will find is that because it's just such a kind of aggressive engine, even in this form, you know, it can really upset kind of the balance of the bike if you're being quite aggressive on the throttle. So obviously that depends on the mode and the conditions you're in, and how bumpy the road is, but something to consider. Hopefully within that stock suspension, you'd be able to get it somewhere where you're really happy with it. Obviously, we're still working on that after a week with the bike. It does come also, I should have mentioned, with a quick shifter as standard. The standard Tracer 900 doesn't, whereas the standard MT-09 now does. So that's another premium feature on this bike. I have to say, once you're moving at a reasonable pace, the quick shifter is quite good. But for low speed around towning, I just found it easy to use the clutch. And I have to say, I really did like a little bit of clutch and knocking it down through those gears to get that beautiful burble out of that triple cylinder MT-09 engine. It sounds awesome like that, even with the stock exhaust. One thing to keep in mind, it's a single piece exhaust, so if you were to replace it on this bike, you'll need to buy the whole system. But Yamaha do have a couple of systems available, which is quite cool. So my overall impression of the Tracer 900 GT, it's quite a bit more expensive than the standard Tracer 900. And I have to say the suspension's been a little bit disappointing, just because we haven't been able to get it kind of to a point where I think there's a significant difference or a significant upgrade over the standard Tracer 900. But at the same time, you've got a lot more adjustability within that system, so you should be able to find something you're happy with, we would think. I think all the other inclusions do add up to something in the region of that $2,700 mark, but the Tracer 900 is such awesome value that it's going to be a harder sell getting someone to buy this for $18,200 as compared to someone buying the standard Tracer for $15,500. And I think that's more a testament to how good the standard Tracer 900 is than any real criticism of the GT. One thing I did particularly like about the Tracer 900 GT with that TFT display and with the switch block system, it's got this spinning wheel that you use, and so essentially you spin that and it takes you through all of the settings on that screen, on that TFT display, and then you just push it in, it gives you access to whatever setting you're on, you hit it again, and you know, very, very easy to use on the run, especially on that right switch block. For instance, turning on those heated grips couldn't be easier. I was really impressed by that system. As far as changing the modes, that's actually done by a switch, which is where you'd normally find a high beam flasher. So that's really easy to do as well. And you've also got a switch which you can turn the traction control up and down. So you've got plenty of ability to adjust all of the systems on the run. Very well designed, if you ask me. And then you've also got cruise control. And I was testing this out on the freeway. We've got double demerits at the moment, so I mean, you really have to be so careful out on the road. It's so easy. You just hit the switch, it activates on the dash, and then you hit set, you just hold it for a second, it'll set to the speed you're doing, and then you can set it up and down really easily. And I've got to say, I think that's a great feature for a bike which is going to be doing long Ks, because you can set it, you know, what I'd normally do is if it's 110 limit, keeping in mind there's going to be a bit of speedo error, I'll set it on 113 or maybe 115 and I'll cruise along. Normally that's just a tiny bit faster than the cars you're going past, and the huge advantage to that is you're not getting stuck in anyone's blind spots and you're just slowly overtaking all the traffic. It's consistent, you shouldn't get in any trouble, and you don't really have to worry about all that much except for watching what's going on around you, which is a really great feature on a sports tourer. A couple other things to mention: it does have a power plug there on the front cowl. It's also got some adjusters for those headlights so you can angle them up and down. There's a good attention to detail. It's got a nice build quality as you'd expect of Yamaha, and I really have to say, apart from the issues we've had with the suspension, I've been really impressed with this bike. Now don't forget to head to bikereview.com.au if you're not already there. Check out the full written review. Let us know what you think about this particular bike, and don't forget to sub and hit that notification bell for YouTube. Thanks and have a great day.